Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode. We're the Road to Glory podcast. I'm Juliet.
And I'm Cecilia. And today we are here to talk about F2 preseason testing that happened last week. And oh my God, I'm so excited for this season to just get started already.
We are so close. Like, Melbourne is not that long away, and we've finished testing now. All the teams are ready to go, and it's just we are hyping up to the start of the season.
Yes. And now that we are talking testing, we have some small announcements that has been made that we haven't covered yet. Also, things that hasn't been announced that has clearly been leaked. So maybe we should start off with that. The big story coming from preseason testing, obviously being that Alex Dunn is driving around in a pink Alpine liveried car.
I don't understand why they put the livery, full pink livery on his car and not announced it before, because everyone now knows logically he should be joining Alpine unless I don't know why he wouldn't be. So maybe you're hearing it here first, but Alex Dunn is most likely joining the Alpine Junior program.
Yes, it also makes a lot of sense because obviously end of last season, the start of the rumors were that he would be going to Red Bull, which also was supposed to happen, but that deal seemed to have fallen through. Obviously, there are a lot of rumors about Helmut Marko and Alex Dunn, but obviously that didn't go through. And after that, the rumors started that he was talking to Alpine. So it makes a lot of sense, and I also get that maybe Alpine, the team, had planned to announce it later, but then why on earth not just give him a road in livery or something? Because even though the test is not broadcasted, obviously there are gonna be photographers getting pictures of the car, and it's also not like they can just say, oh, it's the livery from last year, because there were no road in driver with Alpine livery last year. So what are you actually doing, Alpine?
Exactly. It really doesn't make sense. Someone's schedule has not lined up. But from what we've seen in F1 testing, Alpine seem to be, from what I heard, kind of in the midfield, not at the bottom. So maybe Alex knows what he's doing. Maybe there's going to be a seat for him there next year. But we know how Alpine like to treat their juniors. So all I can say, Alex Dunn, is good luck.
Yes, truly good luck, because they have a lot of juniors that they like to throw around a bit. But we'll have to wait and see with that. Also, when we are on the topic of F2 drivers joining F1 academies, we do have also, this is kind of old news now, but we haven't mentioned it yet here in the podcast, but we have Joshua Dürksen joining Mercedes as a development driver, which also I didn't see coming at all, but okay, love to see it.
No, it's a little bit out the blue, but I'm not surprised that a junior team have picked him up before this season, because he has a lot of hype going him into the season, joining Invicta, finally leaving AIX. I'm seeing what he can do there, so I'm not surprised Mercedes picked him up. It's a good partnership for both of them, so it's really exciting to see what can happen.
Yes, so beyond Joshua performing really well in the very bad AIX car, showing his talent, from that side, it makes sense. But also from the side of, obviously, for those who don't know, the primary simulator driver was obviously Fred Vesti, but now he has been leveled up to being third driver. And according to some Danish media, he will be at 21 of the 24 races.
Wow.
So Mercedes are going to be needing someone else to actually be doing a lot of the simulator work he used to do. So just throw in Joshua instead.
Joshua's never going to see the light of day.
No,
he's going to get even paler than he is now. R.I.P. Joshua Dürksen.
Yes, but I'm sure he'll be happy to do the work, and I will be happy to actually see Fred out on track more.
He's getting some sunlight.
At last. But yeah, that were big driver announcements we have. Now going into the actual test, I think the only stats we need to talk about is, now we came straight from Formula 3 testing where they only had the hard tires. Now for F2 they are running the soft and hard tires. And also, like, when looking at who the drivers were, there are significantly more returning drivers in F2 than there was in F3. We had 13 returning drivers this season in F2 and only 9 rookies.
Exactly. It's going to be interesting because a lot of these returning drivers maybe didn't have the first season that they wanted to. Like, I'm just excited to see what they can do in their second year, because sometimes, jumping from F3 to F2, there can be this bit of a gap and it can take them a little while to get used to it. But jumping straight into the first morning, the drivers didn't really want to come out. They were kind of doing a lot of, like, I think, setup work, getting them used to the car, the rookies. But unlike F3, it was not raining on the first day, which was good, but it was pretty cold. And when the track is cold, it's really not representative. So there's kind of no point in putting in laps right at the beginning of the morning when the track is cold and it's not really going to show you what data that you need.
No, it was definitely a slow start. In general, day one was kind of an odd one. Also, seeing like who put in the best times. Obviously, we had Noel Leon for Campus setting the fastest time of the day. Super exciting to see that. Obviously, being one of the rookie drivers coming up to the series, finally being rid of Prema in F3. I'm so sorry, Prema. Like, we love you, but clearly Campus is the right place to be. But like in general, looking at the results of day one, the vibe I was getting was very much like whoever in like each team you thought were gonna be like the best performing driver, scratch that. Like the opposite was happening in day one. I was like looking at in Invicta, Joshua Dürksen was performing super well, where Rafael was like more taking his time, getting to know this new F2 car.
I agree. There were some surprising results on day one. We also, this is a feeder series test.
Yeah.
We get red flags. Don't worry. The first red flag of the day came by Nikola Solov. His Campos car was recovered and brought back to the pit lane. But yeah, it's just, you are going to see a lot of red flags. I think again, day 2 was the most red flags. I don't know with your series test. Day 2 seems to be red flag, red flag, red flag.
Yes, that is definitely the time for drivers to push the limit, apparently, because we did see a lot of red flags on that day. But still talking about day one, I believe this was the only day where, as you say, they were so slow to get going that the morning session was actually the slower of the two sessions, where it was like the more representative quality laps they were doing in the afternoon. But in the morning session, Mini almost had the fastest time, but then Rodin came in and said, no, we want to show our pace with Martinez. Then Sean followed very closely by his teammate Alexson.
Yes, I'm excited, Martinez, Rodin, because again, as you say, when you think about the two teammates, you're probably going to think, oh, Alex Dunn is definitely going to be the stronger one here. But I would not assume that. I think Martinez is flying under the radar and we could see a lot of him this year.
Yes, I'm very much looking forward to see what Martinez can do in his first proper rookie season in F2. Obviously now last season he did have a couple of races when he got dropped into the Trident in Baku, and then obviously he performed so well that Rodin were like, actually, let's just get you in the car right now so you can like get prepared for next season. But he was definitely performing from the word go, so it will be interesting to see the team dynamic between Martinez and Alex, because like it's no secret, like last year Alex Dunn had no competition in his teammate. So it will be interesting to see now that how they can push each other, maybe now that they are two very talented drivers at Rodin.
Yeah, I agree. Very interesting to see how they perform together, who comes out on top, because Martinez, this is his rookie season. Alex had a season under his belt. I hope that Alex irons out a couple of creases that he had last year, because he showed a lot of promise. There were just a couple of things that didn't necessarily go his way. I'm just like, I know I keep talking about the start of the season, but I'm so excited. And the test just gives me like this tiny little bit of a taste of what could happen. And I'm like, oh, now let's go racing.
Yes, we literally only have to wait just slightly more than 1 week when this episode comes out. Like, we are so close now, and I absolutely cannot wait. I do hope we get more normal conditions in Australia, though, because last year was crazy with the rain.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see with that. Still looking at day one, with the afternoon session now. The focus definitely did switch, like actually making some more fast laps, quali sims relations with the soft tire. But before we got any like really good laps in, we unfortunately did have another red flag. This time for Joshua Dürksen, who spun and basically caused the red flag.
Yes, it was quite towards the end of the day. There was about an hour left when the action started resuming, and now we're in the afternoon, so sometimes they're doing like towards the end of the afternoon, they like to sometimes put some laps out, but then teams also are like, well, we haven't done the race pace. So there were some drivers that were going fast in the last 15 minutes, which was nice to see. Like we saw Van Amersfoort up there, which we hadn't really seen.
Yeah.
And especially, they have rookies there as well. So good to see Varon. Don't know if I'm saying your name right. Please correct me if I'm not. But interesting to see him there. Can I tell you what also freaks me out? We're probably going to talk about it in the later 2 days. But seeing Colton Herta there.
Yes, I was actually about to bring that up. That is something we need to talk about, because now we talk about, there are like some exciting rookies, but like we have some people who are not just like normal rookies. We have obviously, as you say, Nico Varon. I'm so sorry again. Spanish, Argentinian people, please tell us how to pronounce it. But he comes from sports cars, so also like he definitely had given up on the dream of like the feeder series world and getting up to F1. But now Colton Herta, that is obviously the big story of him coming from IndyCar, being Cadillac test driver. Definitely like one of the Cadillac F1 seats are reserved for him for whenever he is ready. But like that is also what is so crucial now. Now that he has made the jump to F2, he actually also has to perform, and it will be really interesting to see if he'll be able to do that, or if like they maybe have underestimated how challenging it actually is to be at the top of F2. Because also like looking at the test, it's not like he did badly, but it also isn't like he was even close to topping the times any of the days.
Exactly. We didn't see him like, his name was mentioned a couple times, but it wasn't like, oh, Colton doing this. Like we saw a lot more of Rafa Câmara or Joshua Dürksen. So I'm really interested to see how this jump into F2 goes for Colton, because I feel like a lot of people are thinking, oh, he's going to be so good, but there are crazy things that happen in F2, and a lot of it sometimes is not down to like your talent. Sometimes other things can happen with your car or in the races. So just get the season started so I can see what Colton does as well.
Yeah. Also because Colton is definitely going in with a lot of pressure, because like everyone are going to be watching him and expecting things from him. And also, if he wants that Cadillac F1 seat, he still needs a couple of super license points to get there. So he actually needs to finish high up in the standings. So definitely will be interesting to see. Also, now that he is with High Tech, that is a team that challenged for the team's championship last year. So, like, naturally, you would expect them to be going into the test actually performing better than they did. Now, also, they have, like, a full new lineup with Colton being the rookie and then the experienced driver with Tomo Miata. But also, I don't even know how to, like, compare Colton to Miata, because even though he's, like, a third-year driver now in F2, it isn't like he has performed that well against any of his teammates in the past couple of years. So, like, kind of a funny choice there.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how the two, like, I can't even picture them interacting.
No.
Like, they are so different worlds in my mind. So it'll be interesting to see performance-wise how they both do. But jumping back, our final red flag of the session happened with Sebastian Montoya getting stuck in the gravel, like right at the end of the session. So there's pretty much too little time, like 5 minutes or something. So the session was not resumed after that. But yes, we did get Colton in the afternoon session inside the top 10, which is positive for him. But yeah, not as dominating as I feel like maybe he would have wanted. Maybe he's keeping something back. Maybe we'll be surprised in Melbourne.
Yeah, he also could just obviously use this test to really get to know the F2 car, because it must be so different from the IndyCar car, like, let's be real. So maybe he's just using his time to learn all the little bits and tricks and set up things. Again, we don't know a whole lot about what the different teams are actually doing in the test. So we could come to Melbourne and he's on pole position or something. Like, I would be surprised at this point if that happened, but also, like, I wouldn't count him out just yet. But he'll definitely be like one of the main storylines that people are focused on now, that there is this whole big thing that why did he choose to switch from IndyCar when he's already like a professional racing driver there, and like, can he make it to F1? So will be interesting to see what happens with that for sure. But yeah, in general, now that we look and day one, now you mentioned Montoya stuck in the gravel. I need to say, like, last year pre-season testing, I had hopes for Prema. I was like, is Prema back? They were actually performing well. Now it's like the opposite. Now they're actually just back to being absolutely nowhere. What are we doing, Prema? Can we please hope it's because they are doing something else, actually learning what this F2 car needs? That could be a thing. But yeah, it doesn't look positive. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe they're focusing on their long runs, which they need to do. I don't know. Prema were on a bit of a different schedule, it seemed. And yeah, hopefully they were focusing on actually figuring out what is up with this car so they can be on top of it. But from the test, neither of them really performed outstandingly.
Yeah, it didn't look great, that is for sure. They were pretty far down the timetable. Now, obviously, Montoya being in his second season and then having his rookie teammate, Mary Boyer, who we also know from F3, is a good driver. It's like you would have expectations for them, but has to wait and see if the Prema car wants to collaborate. But looking at the times of the day, then obviously we already mentioned that Noel Leon put in the fastest time of the day. With Nicolas Ferrone like being so far behind. Can we talk about the gap that was between Noel Leon and the rest of the field? Especially, like, that is what I don't really get with day one, because I also saw in an interview that Noel Leon said like his lap wasn't even that good. Like, he had to pass people and like having traffic. And like, how were you almost 7/10 clear of the rest of the field then? Like, what were the other people doing then?
I don't know. I feel like Noel was on a different plan to everybody else, and he wanted to put in a good lap, but then couldn't even. But still, like, he was so much faster than everyone else, which just makes me very excited. Because, as we mentioned, you know, Noel has left Prema, he's now a Campos, and it seems like they're gelling really well. So yeah, Noel, hello? Does Noel have a rocket ship underneath him? Who knows?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But then we had Nico in P2 and Joshua Dürksen P3, and then we had both of the Rodin drivers finishing off the top 5. So, like, the kind of usual suspects, I would say. The biggest surprise was definitely seeing VAR so high up. And like, also obviously now that he's making the switch from sports cars, will be interesting to see if like that is actual true pace or if they'll fade more when we get into the real sessions.
Yes, exactly. Because we remember, we really don't know kind of what's going on. We get very limited information. We're giving you what information we get here, but we don't know the ins and outs of what everyone is doing. But I think we could probably move on to day 2, which, as we mentioned, was the red flag day. That's what I would name day 2. And you start out pretty early. We've gone green right in the morning. We get a red flag from Tristan Pole into Zach having a spin, like, right in the morning. And I can kind of understand that, like, cold tires, cold track. It's understandable that we're going to get a red flag early in the morning.
Yes, it's nothing too dramatic, I'm sure. Also, Zach did perform well in like the rest of the test, so like definitely nothing to worry about. But after that, we had some soft runs. The morning session in general was like the big one. That was where the times were set. However, we did have a second red flag shortly after that with John Bennett spinning out. Now that we are on the topic of John Bennett, I will say, how on earth did he come up to P3 of day 2? Like, how did he drag that Triton car into that position is absolutely beyond me. I feel like even though he spun out and made a red flag, we have to mention how well he performed after that.
I agree, because, Trident in F3 and F2 of two very different
Yes.
topics. When we talk about Trident in F2, if you're new here, don't even think about F3. It's pretty much AIX here. So, very happy for John. Feel like he had a quietly good season last year, also having skipped F3. So I'm excited to see what he can do in that Trident, if he can do anything.
Maybe we'll have a Trident comeback. Now we are talking about Trident as if they are absolutely the worst team in F2, which they are also close to being. I will not lie. But I will, on that note, mention that at the end of last season, when we got Martinius Stenshorn in the car, he performed so well. So, maybe there is some pace in that Trident car, and it's just very difficult to unlock. We'll have to wait and see. John Bennett can actually bring some of this pace he was showing in this preseason test into the actual races.
Agreed. And now if you think, oh, maybe there were no more red flags in the morning, you would be wrong, because we got another red flag with Gabriele Mini stopped on track. Now, it doesn't seem like a crash. We just got stopped on track.
Yeah.
So maybe had a little bit of a reliability issue. But pretty much shortly afterwards, we also got another red flag with Noel Leon having a spin in the gravel. So yeah, the morning session, 4 red flags, which can really affect people's run plans, because there's time between getting the cars, bringing them back, getting green light again. So yeah, interesting to see how the teams worked around those red flag periods.
Definitely, because between Mini's red flag and Noel Leon's red flag, we did see Rafael Câmara manage to set the fastest lap of the session, which also ended up being the fastest lap of that day overall. So, at least he managed to put in a good time. Obviously, some other drivers did too. I will say this session was absolutely pure madness, because when you look at the timetable of the day, we had, before Alex Dunn's time was deleted, because Alex Dunn's times from the morning session were deleted. I believe his car was underweight, so nothing serious. But before that happened, we literally had the top 5 of the session being covered by just 0.067 seconds, which is unbelievable. I don't even think I can blink in that time. How do we have 5 cars from different teams as well being so close to that fastest time Rafael Câmara did is absolutely beyond me.
It's crazy. And that's a good sign for what the season's going to be like, because we don't want someone so far ahead dominating everything. We want these close battles. You don't know who's going to be on pole. You don't know who's going to win the race. So it's just a little taste of what we could be getting this season.
Yeah. I also it was so positive seeing besides John Bennett, who is a returning driver, it was and also besides Alex Dunn, but his time was deleted anyway. And his car was on the weight, so that could also contribute to why he was able to put in a fast time. So, but then we're looking beyond Alex Dunn and ignoring John Bennett for 1 second, even though that was so impressive in that Trident. I will mention, how did we get a Trident so close to an Invicta? It's insane. Sign me up for a season where we actually have that power dynamic. That would be crazy. But what my point is that the drivers who were so close to each other were also all, besides John, rookies. So with Rafa Câmara, Tasnapol and Tripuruzak, and then again Martinius Stenshorn. Seriously, Martinius is gonna be a force to be reckoned with this season. I'm so ready for it.
I agreed. And I'm also ready for Rafa to come in and follow the steps of Gabriele Bortoleto and Leonardo Fornaroli. We've had this kind of trend in the past couple years, and I'm very interested to see if we have that again.
Yes, because honestly, at this point, it's almost getting boring what we're seeing happening. Sign me up for Rafael Câmara Rookie Drivers Championship. I would love to see that. I really like Rafa, and I also he is part of the Ferrari Junior Academy. It would be very interesting to see what they will be doing with him. I'm sure, if he goes and wins, there are gonna be some interesting things happening at Haas, because usually Haas is the place where they want to put in their juniors. Also now technically they do have Cadillac as an like so they use their engines too for like a couple of seasons anyway. That is a talk for another day. Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves. But what I want to say is now with like at least this generation of cars, it has definitely been very much like Trident, rookie driver, wins the championship, moves to Invicta and F2, wins the championship as a rookie as well. And now after preseason testing in both F3 and F2, we are definitely seeing the same pattern emerging again with Freddie Slater for Trident setting the fastest time in F3, and also Rafael Câmara for Invicta setting the fastest time in his F2 preseason testing, which is absolutely wild. If that will happen again, I do hope we get some more people challenging for the title, but we have to wait and see on that.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting to follow. And obviously, I supported Raf last year. We'll be supporting him again this year. But I do hope that we get different people winning, which we usually get in F2 because we know it's chaos. But it's very interesting to see this sort of trend still emerging. But going back to the afternoon session, we had a fifth brief red flag with Colton Herta briefly going off the track. Luckily, it didn't seem like anything was really wrong. He came back on. We think, we don't really know. We don't get much information. But yes, you see, everybody causes a red flag in testing.
Literally. Also, now that we are on the topic of red flags, I feel like it has to be mentioned that now we are also getting a pattern of Prema cars just wanting to find the gravel at the end of the session, because we also did have Mary Boyer finding the gravel at the end of the session after a spin. So, like, I don't know what's up with Sebastian Montoya and Mary Boyer and their Prema car, but they love to find the gravel at the very end when they're pushing for the final time. But yeah, other than that, in the session, we did have Joshua Dürksen actually topping the afternoon session. So we are starting to see some Invicta dominance maybe, which will be very interesting to see if like Joshua Dürksen can also keep up with Rafael Câmara, because then it will be very interesting season ahead of us.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see their dynamic, who comes out on top, and just like the Invicta. Okay, Invicta, I see you. This day 2 in my mind, when I was looking at everything, I was saying like, whoa, Invicta are not here to play, they're here to win.
Yes, will be very interesting to see if they'll like actually be able to dominate the season again. Now, that being said, with like how the pattern has gone with like who is winning the championship, it also isn't like it has been easy for the drivers who like won in their rookie seasons. Definitely not. They were challenged by other drivers, so I'm sure we'll get that again this season. Then the last like question is just like who can be consistent enough and have the right car and have the right mindset and talent to actually put it all together, because like it can literally come down to the last race in Abu Dhabi. Now, last year it didn't, but more often than not, it will definitely be decided there.
Exactly. It'll be interesting to see who challenges who. Not even after Melbourne. Melbourne can be a bit of like chaos there. But once we get a few races into the season, I think we will start to see a bit of an order forming. And we can't take exactly what's happening in testing, but Invicta do look very strong.
Yes, that is one thing that is for sure. Also, usually when we talk about times in testing, not necessarily being representative, I usually mention, oh, but last year this person was fastest. So, well, now I have to mention that last season we had Gabriele Mini for Prema setting the fastest time of the test overall. So now this time, maybe we can actually say, you know, times unfortunately doesn't matter, because that definitely got my like hopes up last season. And I also predicted Mini for the championship. So like things can be very different from what is going on in testing to when they actually hit the track in Melbourne, unfortunately.
Yeah, be careful who you predict, because please don't curse any of my drivers.
No.
Stay away from them.
I will curse them. There was like a whole thing with where people actually ended up, and it was very weird. And I'll try to not curse any of our favorites this season. But also, like, I want them to win. So, like, what am I gonna do?
I don't know. You're stuck in a hard place.
Literally. But yeah, now we're pretty much finished off day 2, because the afternoon session was mostly just long runs anyway, so nothing that exciting to talk about. And we also already did talk about who ended up at the top of the times beyond the people we already mentioned, obviously Rafael, Câmara, and Pourchaire, Bennett, Stenchon. We also have again Nico Ferron actually up in P5 in that VAR. So the pace he was showing from day 1 was not just like a one-off thing. Like he's actually up there again on day 2.
Agreed. And I feel like VAR are a solid team. They're not one that we really talk about right at the top all the time, but they're really not at the bottom. They are in the midfield, they're solid, and they could be scoring some big points. And it's looking positive for Verone.
Yeah. Also, now that we are on the topic of Verone, I feel like I'm always in my brain connecting him with Colton Herta because they have like such atypical ways of like joining F2.
Yeah.
He was also in P8, only 2/10-ish of the fastest time. So again, it's not like he's far off. He is showing himself. So it will be interesting to see if we'll see him higher up when we get to Melbourne or some of the other races, hopefully for his sake.
Agreed. And now we're still on the topic of him. I think we can move on to day 3. And guess who caused the first red flag of the session? Was Ferran. So you see, you never know what happens in the morning sessions. And like, it's not, as I mentioned, I've mentioned this before, but I feel like I need to mention again, it's not always driver error. And we get, especially in the morning session, cold tires. They haven't done that much running. Anything can kind of happen. The morning session on day 3, we actually had 3 red flags in quite a short amount of time, because after that red flag, we had Villa Gomez off in the final corner, causing red flag, cleared quite quickly. 3 minutes later, we had another red flag. Pretty much like immediately, Noel Leon came out and was stopped on the circuit.
Yeah, there was definitely something odd going on like at that time with like so many red flags. I can't even imagine how annoying it must have been for like the teams as well. Like, oh, now it's green. Oh, no, it's not. We're getting back to the pits. I also like the fact that Villa Gomez went off into the gravel. It's also kind of funny, like, because he's obviously teammates with Verone. So like he was like, oh, I'm gonna try it as well. And like maybe there was something off with the setup of that VAR at that point. Who knows? We will never know for sure, but yeah, that was definitely quite an interrupted start of the session. However, the morning session in general was used to like set the quali sims, and also the fastest time of the test overall was set here in the morning session, obviously by Rafael Câmara setting the fastest time later in the session.
Yes, I will say something that we don't talk about a lot, because obviously in the reports that we get, they don't talk about it. But during these tests, we get a lot of pit stop practices, because we do pit stops in F2, and it's very important, especially for the rookies coming from F3, that they need to practice these pit stops, because chaos can ensue.
Yeah, both the rookies, because obviously whoever are coming from F3 now, not everyone who are rookie in F2 comes from F3. Like that's not a given anymore. But the drivers specifically coming from F3 are not used to pit stops because like they don't have a mandatory pit stop. So it's like very rare that they do it. So definitely they do need the extra practice, but not only the drivers, also the teams, because like things can get messy in the pit lane sometimes in F2. So definitely good to see the teams also practicing their own skills.
Exactly. It's very important, and we don't talk about it enough, because obviously we don't get like the timings of what they do for pit stops, but they do practice it.
Yes, also like it is definitely a different kind of pit stop now if people are just used to seeing F1, because in F2 we literally only have one person per wheel, and it's even a new thing almost like a couple of seasons now. Maybe it's not new, but like from only a couple of seasons back they didn't even have electric wheel guns. So like definitely coming a far way from where they used to be. So that is also an important aspect. Because like we have seen so many times in F2 how a bad pit stop can literally ruin one's entire race. And we're not just talking about like losing the lead of the race. We're talking about like getting way at the end of the field if things go wrong.
Exactly. And like double stacks are really not ideal
No,
in F2. Not like F1, they're not really ideal, but even in F2, and we've seen tires go flying. We've seen tires go off cars when they're way out. Like
don't
there
remind me.
there is a lot of chaos with the pit stops. So I'm very glad that they use this test to hopefully clean that up.
Yes, but looking at what they were doing besides pit stops, obviously now with the fast times getting in, besides Rafael Câmara, we had Noel Leon again, actually being decently close behind him. Now it was 2 tenths off, so it's not like crazy like day two where there was nothing
Yeah.
separating them. But nonetheless, like actually seeing Noel Leon outperforming Nicolas Solov, I think not a lot of people were expecting going into the season. Also, Nicolas Solov already having experience in the car from the end of last season, super interesting to see Noel actually at least being on the same pace as Nicola and even ahead of him at the moment.
Yeah, and if you think back to the results from F3 last year and you see the two of them, you're going to obviously think that Nicola is going to be dominating over Noel. But again, Noel has come from a different team, and it's
Yeah,
impressive that he's changed teams. So there's a lot of stuff that's changed in that aspect, and he's still performing well. I think Noel is somebody to watch, and he seems, again, I mentioned, he seems to be gelling with Campos really well. Yeah, I'm excited to see kind of the battle between them and who
yeah,
comes out on top.
definitely. Also now with Nicolas Solov, he comes from like a title battle in
Mm,
F3 where he was like, obviously he didn't win, but he like
yeah,
came fairly close. Like he was definitely in the mix where Noel Leon was just tootling around in his Premier car, fighting for points whenever it was possible. So we definitely, maybe we kind of slept on Noel. Also, Noel is
yeah,
an amazing person. We were lucky enough to
I
meet
love him.
him in Silverstone last year. He's so sweet. We'll definitely hope to see him perform well in this season. So I definitely do think that maybe some people are underestimating Noel Leon. Maybe they won't be doing that now after we have seen the results of the test. But I also like comparing Noel and Nicola. Obviously, they are both rookies, but Noel Leon is like the more mature of them because he
Mm,
is a couple of years older than
yeah.
Nicola. So will be interesting to see how that team dynamic plays out.
Yes, I will say the biggest thing from day 3, in my
Mm.
mind, was the afternoon session when
Mm.
we got a very
Oh no.
surprising result,
Yes. Yeah.
which we have to talk about. I don't know what happened in the afternoon, but we had Kian Shields fastest of the off.
Yeah.
And I never thought I'd say that sentence. I'm so sorry, Kian. But we know AIX. But we also had his teammate
Yeah.
not too far behind. So I was like, what is going on in the house of AIX here? Like, kind of crazy.
Absolutely wild. Like in my notes, I have literally just written down my main question from this session is what were people even doing and how did Kian Shields in his AIX top the times and also like Emerson being up there as well? Because I feel like a lot of people are not having like they don't have any expectation for Emerson Fittipaldi. I feel like mostly it's his name that will
Yeah.
get noticed, obviously, but like not that high expectations really. So even though it was just in the afternoon session, the slower after sessions, it's definitely still positive seeing AIX do some things. Now maybe again all the other teams were just chilling out, getting
Yeah.
ready to like close down everything, but still impressive to see and something none of us had predicted for sure.
Exactly. And we kind of got that, as we mentioned earlier, with Trident also performing well
Yeah.
with John Bennett. And now we have AIX with Kian Shields performing well. Maybe we will be on a bit more of like a complete even playing field in the midfield-ish. We're gonna have some teams that'll dominate. I mean, we've seen that Campos are doing really well and Invicta, but it is nice to see that we're also getting some positive results from the teams that haven't been performing that well. Maybe they have gotten on top of this car and they figured something else out that took them a little while to get here, but they're here to play.
Yeah, I will also mention that it is interesting or important to note that this is actually the final year of like this generation of F2 car. So now they have had a while to get to know this car. So like if they want to show anything with this car, like this is the final season they will have. And like things can completely change when we go into 2027 with a new car. Like I can't imagine what 2027 in F2 is even going to be like, because surely they'll change that generation of car a lot, because F1 has changed so much. Like this is the time now to perform if you like want to like have a car you actually really understand.
Exactly. Like, this is your chance here. And I think maybe some teams know that. And that's what
Yeah.
they are pushing towards. But I will say that was the most shocking thing of the test was seeing Kian Shields. Like, I saw the result pop up on my phone and
Yeah.
I'm sorry, who? But let's go, Kian. I'm here for this.
Yes, maybe he can actually score a point this season. I feel like that will be the goal for AIX with him, because obviously AIX, even though we talk poorly about them right now, they were not bad with Joshua Dürksen behind the wheel. So now, okay, so Joshua Dürksen was teammate with Kian Shields, and things didn't go well for him last season. But now being part of the Aston Martin family as well, and like testing for them, he could start performing better. I don't have high hopes, but like maybe just get in the points.
Yeah.
For once. Could see that happening.
Who knows?
We don't.
No.
But, like, would be interesting to see what happens with that. But that was just such a shock after like the afternoon session. Like I have no notes. It's just like Kian Shields topping times. And then we also like, just to finish off the test, we did have a final red flag, because like obviously we had to have another red flag. This time by Lawrence Van Hooven stopped on track. So again, like now Trident isn't the best team. Maybe they were experiencing some issues. At least he like didn't crash or anything as far as like we could tell.
Exactly. So I feel like that's kind of most of the notable stuff from the test. We got some surprising moments. We got a couple of people who we thought would be up there, but then we also got some people who knows what they can do this season. So I'm so excited for the season to start. We are really close. Our next episode will actually be on our predictions, which is honestly actually might be my favorite episode to film every year.
Yeah.
Because like I put a lot of time and thought into these predictions. And who knows, maybe we'll be right, maybe we'll be really, really wrong.
Yeah, honestly, for my side, probably really wrong, because I cursed almost everyone last season. But hopefully it will be better this time. Also, I don't even know how much I want to base it on this test, because obviously, as I already mentioned, I got fooled last year by Mini with Premier. Now I could predict Mini again now that he has switched to MP. Like, who knows? It's very up in the air. You'll have to wait another week to see what our predictions will be. But definitely, if you're not following us already, and if you're watching this on YouTube specifically, please do subscribe. We are so close to hitting 100 subscribers. So would very much be appreciated if you want to subscribe and like show us the support. Obviously, also across all our social media platforms with TikTok, Instagram, Twitter /X, and also on Spotify, and like vice versa. If you're watching on Spotify, go to YouTube. If you're on YouTube, go to Spotify. Will very much be appreciated.
Yes, we've actually just passed like our 1 year birthday on YouTube. So it'd be a very nice birthday present for us if we could reach 100 subscribers around the beginning of the season, maybe even before, who knows. So please, if you are watching this and you enjoy our videos, please subscribe. It means a lot to us that you're even here, but subscribing would just mean even more. Make sure to follow us on all of our socials everywhere, because as we mentioned earlier, sometimes like we kind of forget to mention stuff in episodes because there's so much. But on our Instagram, if there is any breaking news, we always post about it. So definitely go follow us over there. On our TikToks, we have funny little videos. And again, on X or Twitter, we also post a lot of news there. So if you can't get enough of us, go follow us on our socials.
Yes, definitely. Also, because usually now that we're in preseason, our episodes are pre-recorded with like more days than they will normally be when we do race reviews. So like, who knows when this episode goes up, it could already be announced that Alex Dunn is with Alpine or something completely else with other drivers. But you will already know that if you're following us on Instagram, where we make sure to like actually post live updates with any big announcements.
Exactly. But I think that's kind of it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed our testing. We're very, very excited. I don't know if you could tell for the season to
Yeah.
start. But thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.